That was pretty quick, Karen. Friedman, Agnifilo. The New York Appellate Division has denied Donald Trump's request under Article 78 to try to stay the trial in the Manhattan District Attorney criminal case set to start April 15th. This as Justice Merchan, who Donald Trump actually had to sue in order to try to stay or stop these proceedings, he's just chugging right along and sent the parties the potential jury instructions and jury questionnaire and the various rules that the jury's going to have to follow and the parties are going to have to follow. Karen Friedman, Agnifilo, this is big. We reported again earlier today about Donald Trump filing this lawsuit to try to delay this trial from happening, been referred to as the hush money payment case, the first election interference case where Donald Trump paid the hush money to Stormy Daniels, then falsified business records to try to interfere with the 2016 election. You see the order right here that defendant's application for a stay pursuant to CPLA section 230.30, pending the determination of defendant's motion for change of venue, is hereby denied. Karen Friedman, Agnifilo, you were the number 2 in the Manhattan District Attorney's office. You're very familiar with this courthouse. What do you make of this?
This is the Donald Trump playbook in action, right? This is what he does for every single one of his cases, whether it's one of his criminal cases or if it's his myriad of civil cases. Is he doesn't actually want to go to trial. He wants to delay. And so there's only a certain number of options that are available to him, or tools in his tool belt that he tries to bring out. They're all very predictable at this point. There's always going to be a motion for recusal on the judge, which is, some motions, by the way, Ben, that defendants make are standard and they're made in every case. Donald Trump makes these motions as if these are standard in every case. Recusal motions are hardly ever made, let alone granted, yet he asks for that in every one of his cases. Most people don't think that judges are biased or need to be removed for any particular reason. Certainly they can't. It's a weird tactic for somebody who's about to have your fate in their hands, right? That you're now calling them biased and not objective, et cetera. But that's one of his tactics. Another one is to say he can't get a fair trial. He wants a change in venue. And he literally pulls out all of these various shenanigans to try to get a delay. But the thing is, judges talk, they read the newspaper, they read other court filings that are available online, and they all know that what he's trying to do is just delay the trial. Even Judge Juan Merchan, in one of his most recent decision and orders, when it was about the gag order, one of the things he said in there was, Donald Trump's trying to delay the start of this case, and I'm not going to allow that to happen, right? When no one thought he was going to be successful in doing that to the Tanya Chutkan case, but he raised the presidential immunity issue there, and now that got delayed. So this is the first one that is actually going. It's supposed to start on Monday, very, very soon. And this is his now what happened today was his first attempt to appeal the case starting, saying, I can't get a fair jury in Manhattan. I want to change in venue because Manhattan people are inherently biased, is what he said. I mean, on the one hand, he talks about how he built the skyline, how he's Mr. Manhattan, how he's responsible for everything and beloved here, and that Judge Engoron is biased, is what he said in a civil fraud case. Remember, his kid said that, everyone said that, how great he is and how great he is for New York. But somehow he doesn't want a jury of his peers in New York, even though he's from here, and loves to brag about all of that. And his name is on everything he owns here, right? All of his buildings, his there's an ice skating rink with his name on it. I mean, whatever it is that he has, he puts his name on. And yet he says the jurors in Manhattan can't be fair and impartial against him. So he wants a change in venue. He says there's too much media publicity, and that's another reason he wants the change in venue. But obviously that's not specific to this jurisdiction. And change in venue is so rare. It almost never ever happens when a defendant asks for it for this reason. Typically speaking, it's only when there's an actual conflict of interest, like if the district attorney had represented somebody when he was in private practice, when, as a defense attorney, and then that person gets arrested again, you'd have to recuse the office and get a change in prosecution. But here he's asking for a change in venue because of the judge and because of people in Manhattan and saying he can't get a fair and impartial trial here. So, this is what he's trying to do. This is what he's trying to get. It's a last ditch effort to delay. And Ben, you've been saying it all along. What's going to be his next move?
Well, I think he may do more of these Article 78 things, just, regarding the motions that are pending. I don't think this is the last Article 78 lawsuit against Justice Merchan. He may do it. Remember, he's got that motion pending to try to recuse or disqualify Merchan. I can see when Merchan denies that, Donald Trump tries to do this again. But ultimately, Karen, where I think this is headed and headed soon, and this is the last card that Trump's going to play, is his Supreme Court card. I don't think it was an accident that in the video Trump posted of himself this morning, which was a kind of complete and utter disaster, Donald Trump made the statement how he was bragging that he overturned Roe v. Wade. But there was that moment where he gave a shout out and listed each of the justices by name and praised them and shouted them out for overturning Roe v. Wade. I think Donald Trump will then go to the Supreme Court justices who he's appointed, which it's a 6-3 right-wing court right now of the 9 justices. And I think Trump makes an emergency direct petition there and says, you're hearing the other absolute presidential immunity case on April 25th. You need to hear this case as well. And that's kind of the last card I think he plays. I know how desperate he is. Right, Karen? This just reeks of desperation, what Donald Trump is doing. He is in a full-fledged panic right now. He's a cornered rat. And so I've studied the pathology of this cornered rat now for a long time. I've watched his moves. Ultimately, I think that's where he goes. And just to remind everyone, it's completely without merit. Donald Trump's claim here is that the conduct that took place before he was in office should be subject to presidential immunity because once he was in office, he was making posts about the criminal conduct in order to cover it up. So the conduct that postdates him being in office should be used to give blanket immunity to the crimes committed before he was in office. Justice Merchan has already denied that. And notice how Justice Merchan denied it, not even going to the merits, denied it on the grounds of untimeliness, which is the smart move to do. Because I think Justice Merchan realizes where Trump's going to go. And I think if Justice Merchan were to have addressed it on the merits and actually addressed that there is some even kind of substantive argument to even be made, that could potentially give more credence to Donald Trump than going to the Supreme Court. Justice Merchan was very intentional, I think, in denying it on the grounds of untimeliness, that Trump basically waived all of the dates and deadlines to even bring that as a pretrial motion in the Manhattan DA case. So I think that's going on behind the scenes. Merchan gets it. Trump was trying to set it up for that. Merchan kind of protected against that. Let me give you the final word, Karen. Where do you think we are now that the Court of Appeals, the Appellate Division, has denied Trump's motion? We're headed to trial now unless something else happens before April 15th. What do you expect?
Well, look, this is called Article 78 is our version in New York of the state level interlocutory appeal, which means you're appealing before a conviction. And there are only a few avenues that open to him to be able to do that. So he's desperately trying to utilize all of them. He could appeal this to the Court of Appeals, which is our highest court. I don't think he's going to get anywhere, but he's going to certainly potentially try to do that. And I agree with you regarding the Supreme Court for sure. That makes a lot of sense. And look, they could say it's in 10 days, that argument. So what's the rush? We're on an expedited basis. Let's just wait and see. And that, I think, is a possibility. He does have one card left up his sleeve, though, that he has not yet played. And there's really the one thing that can get the case to not go is if he fires his lawyers or he has some kind of irreconcilable conflict with his lawyers, threatens his lawyers, something. It's not, if he doesn't pay his lawyers, that's not enough to get off a case in New York. But if there's some irreconcilable conflict that they have, they would have to tell the court about it. They would go in camera, which means behind the scenes, and they would ask to speak to the judge. We wouldn't know about it. The lawyers would tell the court, and they have to ask permission to be let off the case. Because once you put a notice of appearance in, which is you put a formal filing saying, I represent this defendant in a criminal case, you cannot get off that case unless you are released by the court. And like I said, not paying your bills is not a reason that anyone would be let off a case, but having irreconcilable differences or a conflict with your client, whatever that is kind of a card that is played sometimes, and it's hard to deny that one. So we'll see if he tries to do that. But that's his final card if the Supreme Court doesn't work.
Thank you, Karen, for breaking this down. Once again, the headline is the Appellate Division has denied Donald Trump's emergency Article 78 appeal to try to block or delay trial scheduled for April 15th, 2024. It looks like we're headed to trial, folks. I'm Ben Meiselas, joined by Karen Friedman Agnifilo from Legal AF. Hit subscribe. Let's get to 3 million subscribers together. Have a wonderful day.
Love this video? Make sure you stay up to date on the latest breaking news and all things Meidas by signing up to the MeidasTouch newsletter at MeidasTouch.com/newsletter.